Yeah, I will do a quick introduction first for
Sure,
you.
absolutely. Sorry, go
No,
on.
no, it's okay. Hello everyone. Welcome to our monthly InfoSec Seminar. Today we are happy to have Mohammad
Hi,
Mirheydari
Professor.
to give us an interesting talk about how identity and access management, and specifically privileged access management, can help protect critical information systems in complex infrastructure. Mohammad is a senior information security advisor in Scotiabank. He graduated from Concordia University of Edmonton with a master's in information system security management and is trained and experienced in privileged access management, information security advisory, penetration testing, risk management, vulnerability and threat management. He graduated from Concordia University of Edmonton in 2018. He worked as a graduate assistant for several MISAM courses and had his thesis published in the 29th Symposium on Communication at Ryerson University, Toronto, Canada in 2018. He did his master thesis on single packet authorization in multi-layered security architecture. He is well versed in security frameworks such as COB IT5, NIST, and ISO 27001, 27002, and PCI DSS regularity requirements. He has over 15 years of experience in PAM, information security, Linux administration, web security, penetration testing, and open source firewalls. Thanks, Mohammed, for accepting our invitation, and thank you all for attending the seminar. Just one more point. For our guests from outside Concordia, can you please register on this form to receive your attendance certificate after the seminar? I will share it with you in the chatting area. And it's all yours now, Mohammed.
Thank you, Islam. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining, and it's an honor to be here in Concordia, back in Concordia again. It's like being at home. So the today topic is about the how identity and access management, and specifically privileged access management, can help big organizations. So, identity and access management is one of the security domains, and it's one of the hottest topic right now in the security environment, because many of the breaches that are happening normally, it happens because a privileged account is compromised, and the bad actor can use it to either exfiltrate the data or more roaming around the infrastructure of the target or the hacked system. So that's why identity access management play a very crucial role, and specifically PAM, or privileged access management, is playing a very important role in large organizations. Identity access management has many branches, such as authentication, access to certification, logical access control, and single sign-on and federated authentication, and many others. And today, we only focus on the PAM, or privileged access management. So today's agenda is going to start with some boring stuff to the security expert, is about the privileged account, what is privileged account, what is service accounts. We're going to move on to a little bit of cool stuff like how PAM tool works, and then we go to the exciting stuff, the demonstration that I'm going to perform a little bit of hacking, and we're going to see that how we, as an internal bad actor, we can escape the process and create a backdoor account or backdoor privileged account inside a server, and how PAM tool can help us detect this kind of malicious behavior as an insider. So from going to what is privileged access management, and why PAM is required. The PAM is privileged access management, or privileged access accounts. They are all kind of ways to securely manage the accounts, and any sort of elevated account that we have in large organizations, and in any critical environment. Privileged accounts are very precious to the eyes of bad actors. One of the, I wouldn't say all the hacks, but I would say many of hacks, the bad actors are trying to get access to a privileged account, and when they get access to a privileged account, that's when they can start their lateral movement and uh, going from a system to another, and their target is normally gaining access to domain controllers and gaining access to a domain admin ID. Once they do that, they own the whole environment. And since the bad actors are really after the privileged accounts, so as a security specialist, we are all responsible to protect these privileged IDs from the bad actors. Therefore, a centralized password management tool or a PAM tool is really required, especially in large organizations or multinational companies. Just imagine a scenario that we have more than 30,000 servers or 50,000 servers, then there is no way to manually manage all these servers, and we definitely need an automated tool to take the burden and take the responsibility of managing the privileged IDs in the environment. And how can we make sure in large organizations that all the passwords are changed or rotated at regular intervals? When we implement a PAM tool, this can be automated, and we can make sure that all the accounts are rotated depending on the or based on the organization standards. And the other thing that a PAM tool can help us in large environment is granting access or revoking access to servers. We can group the servers, we can create roles in PAM tools, and we can grant access to roles or to based on their requirements to get access to their target servers. Also, PAM tools can help us with non-repudiation, accountabilities, and many other important security postures or security features that we always talk about them. So we're going to the next slide about the privileged account. I'm sure that all of you security experts know what privileged account is. We're just going to quickly review the privileged accounts. Any account with any sort of elevated access is considered privileged. It can be simply as a sudo Unix ID that can only change passwords for accounts to a very powerful account such as domain admin accounts. They are all considered privileged accounts. And all the accounts with elevated access must be under PAM custody. If these accounts can be local administrators such as root, or in Windows account, the local administrator, it can be Cisco devices or any types of network devices, privileged IDs, it can be all service accounts, domain admin IDs, and it can be even the SA account in MS SQL account. As I stated, all the elevated IDs, all the elevated accounts, they must be under PAM custody, and they are all considered privileged accounts. Then we have the discussion of service accounts. The difference between service accounts and privileged accounts is really important. Service accounts are specific to a service or to an application. For example, an application needs to communicate with its own database. Normally, they need a service account for this type of communication. The problem with service account is that sometimes they go unidentified in the environment, they go orphan, and nobody take the custody of these service accounts. Or the IT team creates these service accounts and they completely forget about the account that they create. People leave, employees go to the other teams, they leave the environment, and the service account can totally go orphan in the environment. Also, the password of the service accounts normally, never get changed. And just imagine an account for an application get created 10 years ago with the password complexity standard of 10 years ago, and this account, the password goes unchanged for 10 years. So the other threat around service account is that if a service account is created, the IT team has the password of this service account, and they can use it as a backdoor to connect to the server, to the system, or to the database. As we all know, security is and really inconvenient. Nobody likes to follow the process. And just imagine that you have a password easily written on a spreadsheet. So you go and copy and paste it, and you can establish the connection to the system that you want to connect. These are all the problems around service accounts. So to overcome all these problems, the one thing that can really be helpful in the large organization is that PAM team take the custody of the service accounts. By this method, the service account password will be unknown to everyone, so nobody knows the password. And the password will be vaulted in a safe environment. We can audit the service accounts, and password can be rotated based on the organization standards. Passwords can be rotated every quarter, for example. So by PAM tool, we can control and manage the service account in a very good and timely manner. Uh, then here, and this slide, this is one of my favorite slide. I got it from the security architect uh, database website, and this shows how a PAM tool can work end to end. I'm going to walk you through this slide, and the we have this here on top. We see the previous users or admins. So consider this as the web application or as the application portal of a PAM tool. So user who need access to privileged ID will log into the PAM tool application. And PAM tool has three main components. One is the PAM application, the other is the password vault, and the other is a jump server. And just say something in brief. I forgot to say that this presentation is vendor neutral. So I didn't take any vendor. I just go through architecture as a generic architecture. All the vendors, not all, I shouldn't say that, but I would say that majority of vendors follow this architecture, but they might go with a different naming system. But this is how the generic configuration or the infrastructure is. We always have a PAM application, we always have a password vault, and we always have jump servers to communicate with the target machine. So these are the three main components of all the PAM settings or configurations or PAM tools. This password vault, as the name implies, is the database of all the passwords that PAM tool is going to store. We can call it the key to the kingdom. So this is these PAM application, and the password vault is normally isolated, sometimes behind the DM0 firewall. So and not many people have access to these two servers. And these two servers they don't go in the contact to the target servers at all. They always use this jump server to communicate with the target infrastructure. So never ever an application server or a PAM tool will go directly to a target machine. These two are isolated in the environment, and this guy, this jump server, is going to take the responsibility of all the communication. This is normally out in the network, and these two are normally isolated in the network. So this jump server, sorry, so this jump server is going to connect to the target machines. These target machines can be anything. They can be network devices, they can be Windows machines, they can be Unix boxes, and even an application. These jump servers will take the burden. They go and connect to these machines, to the target machines, and they either establish a direct RDP or SSH connection to the server. And what they do, they go read the password from the vault. For example, I'm a user that I need to establish a connection, remote desktop connection to a Windows server. As a user, I send the command that I want to connect to server one. So this command goes through this jump server. The jump server goes check out the password for admin account and server one. It takes the account and the password. It goes and establishes the RDP connection to the target machine. So this is how it works. And sometimes I need, as an administrator, I need to have the actual password because I want to do some task that it really needs the actual password. So as a user, I send the command that I need to check out a password. The command goes to Vault. As a user, I get the username and password. Now I go and directly connect to the target machine. When I'm done and I complete my task, I have to check in the password that I got. Look at it as a library. So I check in the account. The account will be checked in. This jump server, after I check in the account as a user, this jump server will go to the target machine and change the password of the administrator and go and vault it to this password vault. So the all the jobs, all the tasks for the password rotation and the RDP or SSH connection is done by this jump server. All the passwords are vaulted here. And this user, if they want to establish a direct connection, they don't see any password. And in case a password is required, the password will be checked out. The task will be completed. The password will be checked in. After password check-in process is completed, the password will be rotated automatically. This is the whole process that all PAM tools are capable of doing. Then after this is the general process. We have during this process, it's the rest of the details can be different from vendor to vendor. But again, many vendors provide two features, and the features are when the jump server establishes the connection to the target machine. Here, the audit can go and watch these servers or monitor these connections. For example, as a user, if I establish connection, RDP connection to a Windows machine, the audit team, if they want, they can go and they can watch all my activities as a user inside the server. The other thing is retroactive approach. If something bad happens and the security team notices after, for example, 2 weeks that a malicious activity was carried out on the target machine, all these activities are recorded by this jump server, and it is stored in the application database. So as an audit, I can go after 2 weeks, I can replay all the users' activities, and I can find out who did these malicious activities on the target machine. So this is one of the other feature that these PAM tools provide. Sorry. So if we have the ability to go and replay the user's activities on the servers, or we have the ability to to watch or monitor the user's activity on the servers live. These are again available in most of the vendor products. Another feature that is available with some vendors is the account discovery. As I stated, there are many accounts that can go orphan in the environment, then we should have a way to find them before the bad actor go and find them. This account discovery provides this feature to the administrators. If, for example, we have 10,000 servers in the environment, we can schedule task in the application server, and we can have these jump servers to go and pull out or generate a report of all the available accounts on the servers. They will generate a report. This PAM tool will generate a report, and we can generate a report from the available account that we have. We match the discovered accounts with the available accounts in our own inventory, and easily we can find all the orphan accounts or accounts that are not enrolled in our PAM tools. This account discovery is really helpful in all the big organizations. It doesn't let any account goes unidentified, and they will be all discovered and enrolled in PAM. And if the account, for example, there is an account that nobody uses them, simply as an administrator, this can be deleted. And if the account has been in the environment for more than, for example, 5 years, then after it is discovered, the PAM admins know that this account password must be rotated or must be changed. So this discovery is one of the best features to protect the environment, because it takes care of all the orphan accounts, and before the bad actor finds them or discovers them, the PAM team or the identity and access management team will go and find them. Also, the PAM tool provides some control over some applications. This feature is generally if the application authentication is through Active Directory, PAM tool can be really helpful. But for some application, PAM tool cannot really be helpful because application doesn't support PAM control. This is really not available everywhere and for all applications. The policy management is something that is different from organization to organization. This is totally designed by the organization standards. And this is not something that, we say that it is different from the vendor to another. All these things and all the users' activities in the PAM tool all are logged. So if as a user, if I establish a connection to a target machine, this activity is logged. So it will say that Mohammad logged to server 1 at 12:30 on February 10th. So this log is generated, and if anything, and it's going to be pushed to the SIEM server. So if we want to refer back to any logs, we can simply read the SIEM server, and we can find out if anything goes wrong. We can, in any incident, we can simply go to SIEM server and check the logs. The other thing that we can do in the PAM tools is, for example, we have domain admin IDs, and these domain admin IDs are crucial in all environments. So if we are in an environment with domain admin ID, for example, I want to connect to the domain controller, and I want to get access to the domain controller by domain admin account. I can flag these domain admin accounts in SIEM server, and if any connection or any application, any user uses this domain admin account, this can be logged by SIEM server, and this can be flagged, and PAM administrators can be notified. So this is a normal activity that PAM teams or identity access management team does with the crucial accounts. If any critical account gets checked out or used in the environment, the PAM team will be notified, and they can jump in and find out if this is a false alarm or if this is if this is a legit usage, or this is a sort of abuse, or a bad actor get access to this domain admin ID. So based on the system, based on the server, based on the admin account, we can flag the activities, and we can send notification to PAM team. And as I stated in the very beginning, we have the PAM tools make it really easy for us to control the access to certification, create roles, provision the new users, and control the access or grant users to grant access to the users to specific servers, or group them to or revoke their access easily after they leave the company. I stop here because this is I'm sure that it's too much theory here. Does anybody have any question on this? Yeah, please.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah,
So, I got a couple of questions I have.
sure.
Um, so the first one is about the service account. So you mentioned that the service account are used for a specific application that have their own password and can be working for years. But what about the secure remote access? So those accounts or those users that have one-time access to the system. I'm not sure if the privilege account management or the PAN have this feature. Like one of your, I don't know, let's say external consultant, need to work in one of the application server, and this consultant need to have access to your computer. So you will need to provide just one-time access to this engineer. Does it possible using PAM?
Yes, and this will be covered in the next slide. My main concern was on this slide
Okay,
itself, the how PAM tool works. Yeah, your discussion is about just-in-time access. So we have this just-in-time access in PAM, and if in case that a user needs to have periodic access to a server, or just one-time access to a server, just that access can go through the just-in-time access. So this is possible, but yeah, I will go over that one in the next slide.
okay,
About this slide, if you guys have any question on this slide, then let me know. I will explain it and I walk you through it again because it's too much theory. Otherwise, I
right.
can go to the next slide.
I got another question about this
Sure.
slide. So you mentioned that password are stored in the vault, right? The password vault. But I'm not sure if these password are managed by an appliance or are managed by the Active Directory, or it's a mixed functionality. I didn't get
Um,
that.
That's a very, very good question. The password vault is just the password storage.
Mhm,
And for example, if I have domain IDs, as you mentioned, the
mhm.
jump server will go to the domain controller, change the password in the domain controller, and come and put it back and store it into the vault. So this
Mm,
vault is just a password storage, and any activity for any password management will be done by the jump servers. The jump server
okay,
will go to the Linux box and change the root password and vault it here, or the jump server will go to the Active Directory and change the password in Active Directory and put it here. So this this password vault is doing nothing but the storage. It just stores the
storage.
password.
Okay. The I mean, I'm not familiar with this technology, but it is a software or no that is installed in the Active Directory, is appliance separately from the operation system, or how does it work?
This PAM tool is completely a different application that is produced by different vendors.
Okay.
CyberArk, for example, is one of the leads in PAM tools. So CyberArk write its own application, uses a database. Database is not a very special database. It can be Oracle, it can be MySQL, it can be MS SQL. It's a database. This password vault is just look at it as a database. So this is a
Okay.
database. This is the application that is developed by a vendor. And this jump server is just a dump server that do the work for this application server.
Okay. Talking about the jump server, you mentioned that the jump server are located at the out of the network. I would say like a DMZ. It's not
Outside
the
the DMZ, yeah, it's out of DMZ, right?
outside the DMZ. But what about the password vault? Is located at the outside the DMZ or is in the
No,
DMZ
no.
or
The application and password vault, they are both in isolated area. Nobody is a wrong word, but few people should be able to access to these two servers.
okay, so it is an isolated network. It is not the inside, right? But also not the outside. I don't get it. I'm sorry.
No, as I stated, isolated can be firewalled. When we say isolated, it doesn't mean that it is outside the organization's network, but it has to
Mhm.
be protected, or it has to have extra layer of protection, let's call it.
Okay,
Okay?
understood.
Yeah.
And also, just the last question. Um, I'm not sure if this technology can be adapted to VDI solution, like not using a jump server, but using a virtual desktop interfaces, like you know, Horizon for VMware, or I'm not sure if I can use this privilege account management for those technologies like Horizon, you know, not using a jump server.
This can be used almost everywhere. Again, different from the vendor to vendor. They covered Citrix environment. They covered many different types of operating systems, cloud, different types of cloud. So that is a specific question. As I said, this is vendor neutral, but I know that there are some vendors that can cover almost all environments.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
cool.
So we will take one question from Omoclate, and then
Okay.
I suggest the
Yeah,
guys to put questions at the end of the presentation.
sure, absolutely.
Yes, go ahead, Omoclate.
Okay. A couple of questions there. The first question is, how does PAM as an application, how critical it is in the entire, say, zero trust architecture? I mean, how critical role would PAM play in the entire architecture of zero trust? And the second question is, you said PAM wouldn't work for certain applications. Do you want to share those applications? And in that scenario, is that the reason for the development of applications like ADAM, database access management? That would be all from me. Thank you.
Sure. I first answer to your second question, the application. The application is very vendor related. So that's why I didn't delve into or went in deep into this applications part. It's really vendor dependent. So some vendors really support many applications. Some vendors do not go into applications at all. So that's the answer to your second question. The first question is, if I understood correctly, is how critical PAM is to organizations in general, right?
To zero trust architecture.
To network architecture?
Zero trust. Zero trust. Did
Uh,
you get that? Zero
neutral?
trust architecture.
Can you please write it in the chat area?
Okay, sure.
Yes.
Thank you. Oh, it goes based on zero trust. The whole architecture is based on zero trust. PAM is based on zero trust. You are right. This is I didn't want to open the zero trust discussion. It's a very big discussion. And yeah, definitely PAM tool support the zero trust concept, and actually their whole work is based on the zero trust. If you allow me, I move on to the next one because I want to finish the presentation. Then we go back to this slide and we cover the rest of the questions. So next part is just a recap of what we covered. And then because I want to go over a quick demonstration. So this recap is just to go over how PAM tools can be helpful. So PAM tools can vault and find all the purge IDs, and they rotate the password for the purge IDs. We have the ability to log all the users' activities in the environment. We have the active session monitoring or recording. And we can automate the process. And as our friend mentioned, we have the just-in-time access process. We can limit the access to critical devices in an organization based on the time, group of users. So, and just-in-time access is a concept that we have it in privileged access management. We have it in cloud. We have it in many other environments. If, for example, if we want to take this just-in-time access scenario in the cloud environment, the just-in-time access is to open a port for a very specific period of time. And when we go to PAM tools, the just-in-time access is open the access to certain servers or certain accounts for a certain period of time or limited to certain users. It also provides us the dual approval process. For example, if I want to use the domain admin IDs because they are very, very critical to organizations, this can go over a dual approval process. So as a user, I submit a request that I need to have access to a domain admin ID, and then my manager needs to approve it. So in this case, we have dual control over critical accounts in the environment. This is a recap of some benefits out of many of the PAM tools. So now I want to go quickly over a quick demonstration. In this demonstration, I go for two scenarios. One is normal behavior, and the other one if malicious insider or bad insider, bad actor wants to take advantage of a privileged ID. And this bad actor, this insider, wants to create a backdoor account for himself and use it to connect to the target machine without leaving any trace or any track or any logs. And we can show that, and we can show that how, based on the scenarios that we discussed with about the PAM tools, how PAM tool can detect it and stop it. So I'm going to present my lab environment, and then we're going to have this demonstration. Okay, so this is the lab that I have, and here we are going to demonstrate how and what a normal behavior is for creating user in a Fedora or Linux operating system, how it's going to be logged, and how we can go as a bad actor and create a backdoor. So I'm going to just create a duplicate session here.
Mohammed, could you please maximize the console screen?
Sure. I'm going to make it bigger.
Yes.
And here we're going to just generate the logs to okay. So here I'm going to see the logs. Okay, and as a bad actor, let me actually first clear the history. So we have nothing in our history. And now I'm going to show you a normal behavior. So in a Linux box, the administrator group is in Red Hat variation or Red Hat flavor. The admin group or admin group is called wheel. So let me show you that quickly. So, or so here is the wheel group, and this group in Red Hat flavor means administrator. And if I show you the wheel group in the sudoer file, which is all the sudoers or elevated IDs in Red Hat flavors, as you see, wheel is able to do everything inside this server. So I want to create an account. I want to make it as part of wheel, and I want to make it a administrator. I want to see the logs here. So it's simply just adding the user. I call this one admin1. So the admin user is created. As you see, the logs is generated here, and we have the trace that this user is created. So consider this as the normal behavior. And now I want to act as a malicious user, and I want to create a backdoor for myself into this server without generating any logs. So as we all know in Linux, the logs are all here in the log management is in etc rsyslog. So I'm just going to show you the content of the rsyslog. As you see, it's going to log all these activities on my Linux box. So one thing as a bad actor I want to do, I want to stop logging or stop leaving any trace of my activities in the server. And then I'm going to escape the shell, and I'm going to create my backdoor ID, and none of these activities are going to be logged. And I'm going to show you that nothing will be logged. So the first thing is the concept of shell escape. So as a bad actor, I can escape the shell, and I can go and run the command inside the Linux editor, Linux text editor. So I'm going to create a folder here, presentation. I'm going to, and I'm going to go to this demo one, and to just add a little bit of fun to it. Okay, so now I'm going to use this text editor to escape the shell and run commands without generating logs. The first thing that I want to do is that I want to disable my syslog manager completely. So I'm going to the rsyslog.conf from my text editor. So now I switched to the rsyslog.conf, and I didn't generate any log here. The next activity is I'm going to stop the logs. I'm going to comment all the lines. So I commented all the lines in the RSys log. I'm going to write it. Now I am back into my own Vim. So if I show you, so for example, if I'm going to user add -g will admin 2. See, still we have the logs. So now what I need to do, I need to disable the log management. Again, I'm going to say systemctl stop RSys log. So I stopped the RSys log service completely. Now the RSys log doesn't work at all. So I'm going to generate the users without creating any log. I'm going to do the user add, and I call it backdoor 1. Then as you see, nothing is generated here. I'm going to change the password for as you see, I changed the password, and again, I didn't generate any logs. And now I'm able to log into this server. And I can become root. So I just demonstrated this to show you how PAM tool can help us here. So this is I don't say that this is a general practice, but in big organizations, but I am saying that there are many people who wants to escape the processes. And because security is inconvenient and they have to go and check out the password from PAM tools in order to connect to any server that they want to connect. And the other thing that they do is that they don't want to be monitored or their activities get logged. So they normally tend to, they tend to go and create a backdoor account for themselves. When they get a privileged account, they go into the server, they create a backdoor account for themselves to circumvent the process of checking out the password from PAM tools. So PAM tools can detect this because we had this discussion that PAM has the monitoring tools. This monitoring tool can capture the commands that I run here. So and it communicates directly with Steam server. So if I have this user add command, we can flag it and we can flag this command, and if it's run on any server, that can send a notification to PAM administrators. Or if a user tries to pass the logging system as I did here, so I created a backdoor 1 account here. So I think that I'm happy and I have this account in this box and nobody knows who created this ID. The good point is that the account discovery with the PAM tools can go and discover this ID. And if it doesn't match with our inventory in PAM, we can simply go and delete it. Or in serious condition, we can start tracing it back to see who has done it. Because as I said, generally speaking, we can check when this backdoor ID is created, and we can go to SIEM server and to see who had access to this server at that certain period of time. So this is one way to discover all the backdoor IDs in PAM, because we have the discovery, and even if bad actors try to escape the logging system, still it's possible to stop them. So this was the quick demo that I wanted to show, and show you that how easy it is to create a backdoor account without generating any logs, and this is why a PAM tool is really required in critical environment. And this is the whole Identity Access Manager PAM discussion that I have. So please, you guys, if you have any question, let me know, and we can go over them together.
Thank you, Mohammed, so much. It's really interesting presentation, and you opened too many issues and points for especially for our students who are looking for research topics. So
I'm so glad.
So Franco, please go ahead. And I think let's limit one question per person. Okay? Yes.
Yes, I
Please
only
go
have
ahead.
one question. Is the I'm not sure if PAN can work with radios. So, for example, you mentioned that PAN can be associated with an Active Directory, but what about the end devices like switches?
It can. But Radius is a different scenario itself. But PAM can manage, we can say, all sort of devices, network devices, routers, switches, any devices like even very old devices like mainframe. All these devices are manageable to a super modern kind of environment like cloud. So yeah, PAM is able to manage all the environment. And I reiterate myself, it really depends on the vendor. It is really vendor reliant, that each vendor supports different products or support different environments or systems. But speaking about the possibility, yes, it is possible.
Thank you.
Khalid, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. That was a fantastic demonstration there. So, to my question, I understand that in the architecture you showed us, there was a password vault, and I understand what PAN does is sort of take away the administration of privileged accounts from humans because, like you said, like you said that it does the rotation, changing of passwords, like in a rotational manner, and all sorts of practices like that. So my question is, so if PAM does the rotation of passwords and other policies, password policies by itself, how does the user, like a privileged user, authenticate to any server or application that they want to access? I mean, how do they get the password to authenticate? How do they have the password?
Okay, very interesting question. As I stated, the PAM tools, they have an application interface. The application interface normally is user interface or a web portal. The web portal has its own authentication system, and normally it is a multi-factor authentication. So you authenticate to the PAM tool, you get access to the portal, and based on what you are authorized to see, you see the servers that you have access to, and then from there you can initiate the either RDP, SSH, or password checkout command. This is how it works.
Thank you. That answers my question.
Thank you.
Yes, Alan, please go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Can I ask one question regarding the security of PAM itself, and also how is there usually any redundancy system for it? Because sometimes it will become a point of failure, right? Thank you.
Very interesting question. To your point about the security of PAM tools itself, if we want to go based on the zero trust concept, I would say that PAM tools themselves can go wrong. They are developed by people, and it can be a piece of code that is not scanned, or as something happens or some incident happens and the PAM tool itself get hacked, there is no guarantee on that, and that's why we said that it should be isolated, and it has to have another layer of protection for the PAM application and password vault. And regarding the point of being single point of failure, it can be a single point of failure, but normally in the environment, they go with the high availability. So when we have a large organization that is highly reliant on a specific tool, the organizations normally go with high availability, and they normally establish the server and mirror it in an alternative data center. They don't go for such a crucial system. No, there is no organization that just go with one data center and one just specific server. They make it mirror in an alternate location for sure.
Thank you.
Last question from Ibubichi.
Okay, my question is straightforward. Thank you for this wonderful demonstration. My question will be in regards to PAM. Are there known attack against PAM, or has there been anyone since the inception of this technology?
You mean if any PAM tool has been compromised so far? If I want to rephrase.
Yes.
So far, I haven't heard of any news that if the PAM tool itself got compromised, luckily. And there is no, it's not going to be a surprising news if we hear it sometime in the future that the PAM tool itself got compromised. But luckily, no, so far it hasn't been happened.
Thank you. One is the last question from Faith.
Thank you for the presentation. My question is, how secure are the high trust connections to remote devices?
They are definitely encrypted. This is what I can say. The connection, the RDP or SSH or any sort of other communication tool that the PAM tool is going to use to establish the connection to the target machines, and they are always and all encrypted.
Okay, thank you.
Is PAM possible to move to cloud in future? This is a question from Gayatri in the chat area.
Yeah, it is, and actually it already is. There are many PAM providers that they provide their service in cloud. It has already happened, actually.
Great. So thanks, Mohammed, so much for your interesting talk, and thank you all for attending the seminar and for your active participation. We will see you in our next seminar on March 10th, 2022.
Thank you for having me. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great day, everyone. Thank you.